Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome, and such is the nature of life that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. And guess what? You are that opportunity, and so am I. And so, welcome everyone to CSL Midtown, broadcasting to you live this morning from Atlanta, Georgia. And we are so glad that you joined us today. We welcome all people, no matter who you are, where you are in your life. We welcome you to, this is our first of the month in-person celebration, always followed by fun potluck. And of course, we welcome all of those people listening online, YouTube, Facebook, Zoom, wherever you are. So, our center reflects the beautiful diversity of life that is everywhere present. So we welcome you, whoever you are, and whatever path brought you to be here today. We know that you are an individual expression of the divine life that we all live and have our being in. And so we welcome you to participate today and to become a part of this community. And I'm going to emphasize that today. Become a part of our community. Volunteer, show up, talk to us, get to know us. This is a wonderful community, so we invite you to join in whatever way works for you. We hope that those of you who are watching our broadcast on a social media platform such as Facebook or YouTube will like and share this with your friends. For a better understanding of who we are and what we teach, let's listen now to our Declaration of Principles written by our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. Yes.
I believe
in one God,
one absolute power and first cause to all things.
I believe that this power is perfect love
and creates out of a desire to express love.
I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience.
I believe in the unity of all life
and the immortality of the individual soul,
forever unfolding.
I believe
in the eternal goodness,
the eternal goodness of God,
the eternal loving kindness,
and the eternal givingness of God to all.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is.
That was some of our wonderful board and practitioners, and so that just is great. There's a full declaration that Ernest Holmes wrote on our website, cslmidtown.org. My name is Judy Ailey, and I am the moderator and practitioner for today's service. And this morning, I'm excited to say we have yet another wonderful guest speaker that I will be introducing a little bit later. But as we know, the theme for 2024 is Grand Rising. And today we begin our monthly theme of good to great to grand. And this week's theme is the inner landscape. And if you've been around this teaching for any length of time, you know that the inner becomes the outer. What we believe, know, think, and feel on the inside becomes the out-picturing of our lives. So today, we're going to take just a few minutes to look at our own inner landscape. What is our inner landscape? Can we change what it is? I think the inner landscape is referring to our own inner beliefs, values, even fears, worries, and doubts. That's all part of the inner landscape.
No, there's one of them.
How do we explore this inner landscape? Do you have a curiosity about it? Can we change it? Can we expand it? I think we can start by discovering what is already present. That is, we take time to develop a self-awareness of what we actually do believe. What do we actually value? Do we move in the world from a basis of these beliefs and values? And of course, another part of our inner landscape, that is those worries, fears, doubts, negative beliefs. Those things lurk in there too. And sometimes these may be conscious or fully operational at the unconscious level. And we don't even know it. Whatever the inner landscape, it eventually does outpicture in our life in one way or another. So today, I challenge all of us to bring awareness to our own inner landscape. Are there ideas, beliefs, fears, even, that you want to clean out and let go of? Do you have curiosity to expand your inner landscape to new areas of life, things that you may not have fully explored, but you thought of exploring? Perhaps there is something from your past that you have let go of, an interest or an idea that has come back to the surface and wants to be looked at. This is the inner landscape, and Spirit is calling us to look at our inner selves with self-awareness and love, not to judge anything or try to change anything. But as we explore this, we can open up to our authentic self. What are our authentic ideas, beliefs, and values that we live our lives from? If we do this in a purposeful way, we begin to live our lives in greater and greater intention, and all the goodness of Spirit will follow. Because as we know, of course, that Spirit is always there in our inner landscape too, gladly expressing through each one of us in a unique and special way.
Yes.
All right, so this morning, I'm going to transition from that to leading us in a spiritual mind treatment. So if you just get comfortable in your seat and just, if you're comfortable, take a couple of nice, slow, deep breaths, and just allow your awareness to come to this present moment, letting go of anything you've been thinking about that has gone on this morning already, or perhaps you're anticipating a lunch or something later today. Let's just let go of all that. Instead, know that this precious moment, that where we are right now, is the moment of power, is the moment of great creativity. And as we do this, and as we settle in, we know that there is only God. There is only this perfect power and presence that is everywhere. It's in everything we see that appears to be outside of us. Every person, place, thing, idea, piece of nature, and it's in us. We just move and have our being in this power, in this presence that is everywhere. And it is a power for great good. It is a power of all goodness. It is a power of love, of healing, of transformation, of endless prosperity, of endless ideas and new ways of thinking, of endless possibilities for good in our lives. And we know that this is the truth of us, that we are connected to this power.
We're connected to this infinite possibility of good, and that within each of us, there is a divine pattern of wholeness, of perfection, of goodness, of wealth, of great creativity that we bring to the world, and that this power and presence is only desiring to express through us in greater and greater ways. So we turn away from any idea of lack, limitation, frustration, doubt, fear. That stuff is not the real truth of the world. It's not the real truth of who we are. Instead, we know that God is all there is, this presence, this life, this goodness. So I just affirm that today's service is fabulous, that each person here is absolutely here for the right reason, listening, whether you're online or here today in this room, that you are in the right place at the right time, listening to these words of truth. I affirm that CSL Midtown is a good place, and it's a place where spirit is expressing itself in the world as good. So I'm grateful for this. I am so grateful to be here today, grateful for our wonderful speaker today. So I release this now, knowing that all of this is so, and so it is. Today, we welcome back to our center the Reverend Jean Bell. She serves as the Associate Minister of the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. She hails from Brooklyn, New York, and currently lives in the Stone Mountain, Georgia area. She was introduced to the science of mind in 2001, became a practitioner in 2005, and a licensed minister in 2022. She's also the author of a metaphysical children's book entitled Brookie's Adventure, not invention, Brookie's Adventure. I hope that you will join us after the service, those of you online, at cslmidtown.org on the Zoom link to meet Reverend Jean and to participate in the discussion of her talk. Jean's talk title today is The Greatness Within. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Jean Bell.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you, sweetheart. Good morning, everyone. It's good to be back. Thank you for inviting me back. Sometimes I don't know if I get invited back. All right, so let's see. My talk, as she said, is The Greatness Within. So the CSL monthly title is Good to Great to Grand. So I thought we'd just skip the good and go straight to the great. How about that? All right. So we're going to focus on the great part, the greatness that is within all of us. So often we look outside of ourselves for the solution to situations we want to solve, to get them fixed, or anything that we might want removed from our lives. Yet we all know as metaphysicians, we have something that is within ourselves. It's the greatest source that we'll ever need, and that's spirit, as divine wisdom and guidance. The greatness within us oftentimes shows up as something like what we're passionate about. One of the things I like to do is to look up certain words, because over years they have a tendency to change their meaning in time, or they get overused and they'll lose their original intent. So when I looked up passion, it is defined as a strong enthusiasm or desire for anything. Now, the noun enthusiasm comes from the Greek word enthos, meaning possessed by a god, inspired. So we can equate passion as being divinely inspired or possessed by God for something. By exploring our greatness within, we get to take stock of where we are in our own process, what we're passionate about, and does our passion align with our spiritual purpose, what values we aspire to, and how we can begin to live those values in new and powerful ways. As we begin to have clarity around who we are and the spaces we want to live from, we could begin to create spaces and opportunity, not just for ourselves, but for others to do the same. The impact of this process on our collective experience will continue to support all involved. So we can look at that which sets our hearts and minds ablaze with joy and enthusiasm. And sometimes we find that true meaning. We stumble upon that true spark. You know, I've had individuals ask me, or tell me actually, you know, Reverend Jean, I am not certain about what I'm passionate about. And I don't know, and I'm not sure what my spiritual purpose might be. And I usually inquire, well, what kind of spiritual practices are you participating in? And you can probably figure out what the answer is. They don't either have a spiritual practice or they're not consistent in their spiritual practices. And for those who do have a dedicated spiritual practice, upon deeper inquiry, I would find that they are indeed passionate about things, but they don't trust themselves or spirit enough to move forward in allowing it to express forth in their lives. Anybody know anyone like that? Does that resonate with anyone? I was one of those people for many years. I denied my passion, my spiritual purpose, that I've always felt within me to become a minister. I used to minister to my little stuffed animals, right? I was like, that preacher, he didn't know what he was talking about. Y'all listen to me. Y'all are all good, right? We're going to get gummy bears afterwards, right? I wanted to be a minister when I finished practitioner training in 2005, but I always said I was too busy. I have a full-time job. Or I said I was too old to go to ministerial school. But the truth was, I was afraid. I was afraid of the responsibility of pastoral care. That really frightened me. And all the other responsibilities that went with being a minister. Yet, I still felt that deep urge within me, always nudging me towards some form of this type of expression. And I used to argue back with myself, isn't being a practitioner enough? And sometimes it is. There are wonderful practitioners, and that is their calling. But for me personally, I had the calling to ministry. Then one day, while reading the Science of Mind text, I found this passage. It says, we are poised in a sense of peace, which comes from a complete faith in God as the light, power, and inspiration of our life. There will be no uneasiness or anxiety about any outcome if we know that every step of the way God goes with us. And then I read, there's a place in us which lies open to the infinite. But when the Spirit brings its gift by pouring itself through us, it can give us only what we take. It can give us only what we take. I realized I was being just like the second prodigal son. I don't know if any of y'all remember him. He was a knucklehead that he stayed home, but he regulated himself to no more than just a servant. Because when he found out there was a party for the first son, he was coming back from the fields. I placed limitation on what I could be, on the greatness that was within me. I did that. And when I finally surrendered to my passion and spiritual purpose and opened up and allowed the divine I am present within me to flow freely through my ministerial work, my heart was and still is set ablaze with love overflowing. I could finally hear and deeply understand the words, my child, my son, my daughter, I am with you always, and all that I have is yours. That parable speaks to us as humanity at large. We are both the first and the second prodigal son. And the Father is a representation of spirit. And that was from Luke 15:31, where it says, my son, I am with you always, and all that I have is yours. But can we believe that? Can we trust that? It's unfortunate that circumstances or our parents telling us when we are young that our dreams and desires are not realistic, or maybe when we're adults and we have unsupported spouses, or the fear we may feel of the responsibility that might come along with our passion. All these things may have caused us to suppress our passions, our divine urge, the desire that is within us, that greatness, which is God. And sometimes we stand in our own way because we think, who am I that I can fulfill this passion, that I should even have this passion? I'm a nobody in the scheme of things. The greatest thing that prevents us from moving forward, from feeling that we are enough, from being ready for our greater yet to be is fear. Fear of uncertainty, the what if, the not knowing the outcome. If I should step out on faith and pursue my passion, my purpose, that divine greatness that was in me, what if I fail? I want to take this path, but I don't know what will happen. I just can't be certain of the outcome. Control, that's me. I used to be an auditor. I used to run a team. I controlled everybody and everything. But I can't do that with spirit. Fear diminishes our perspective, stifles us, blocks our intuition, that divine wisdom and spiritual guidance. One of my former ministers, Reverend Dr. David Alt, he once said that it takes courage to climb over the fence of infinite possibilities. But when we won't let go of the fence because we can't see what's coming next. So we're just standing there on the fence, holding on to the known. All the while telling ourselves, well, I'm not enough for this divine urge that seeks expression through me and as me. I'm not enough to let go and let God guide me. Whether it be known or unknown circumstances or situation that has stirred up this fear, it's up to us whether we believe Spirit is for us and never against us. Ernest Holmes said, our biggest fear is that God will not answer our prayers. But this is not true. For you see, we are all unique individualizations of Spirit. We are centers of consciousness in the one mind, the macrocosm. And we enact this divine nature in microcosm. And Spirit is always flowing in us and expressing itself through us. We just have to allow ourselves to be that portal. Ernest tells us that God itself made our body to be used as its self-expression. That's deep. And we have an irresistible desire towards self-expression. Ernest Holmes said that desire is the unconscious perception of reality, caught intuitively. This is the divine urge, which operating as law produces energy, and energy must find an outlet. We all know that. We exist for no other purpose but the necessity of our self-expression. Self-expression is the sole and only purpose of life. God expresses itself in and through all creation. We are its body. We are the body of God, its way of expressing, along with all the rest of creation. We are the conduit which the divine presence flows, and it's time for us to declare that we are available, to allow ourselves to open up to divine intelligence, which is the ultimate source of inspiration and creativity. I like that saying, I think it's from the Hebrew text, where it says, with all our getting, we must get understanding. And in that understanding, clarity for what our purpose is. Remember, the universe can't answer you if you haven't declared what it is that you desire. We see this in our little children and how creative they are in the form of play. They can take a box and make it a spaceship. They can take a box and make it an airplane. They can play pirates on a piece of log and pretend that they're out to sea, and they really feel that they're out to sea. And I've always loved that about children. Their imagination can take them so far, but when told to wait their turn to speak or to do something, we can see their desire to express in their entire being, ready to, is it my turn yet? Can I say it? When we come to a greater realization of who we are in God and who God is in us, we lose the fear that oftentimes blocks us from the creative source and substance of the divine. Humankind must exist for the purpose of expressing spirit or life or nature or God, which is the same thing as saying humans exist for the sole purpose of self-expression. We as humans profess many passions and purposes, some which we are living out, some which have not come to fruition or have been repressed for whatever reason. When I started thinking about this topic, I asked not just what my passion and purpose is, but I was inspired to ask what God's passion and purpose is. How many of you have read the book Life Visioning by Michael Beckwith? A few, right? I would advise you to get that because you would get a whole different perspective on purpose and self-expression. Michael Beckwith takes us to different stages of consciousness that we go through. He talks about the conscious stage of being a victim, where things are always happening to me. Then we learn about this wonderful philosophy. And then we move into the manifestor stage, where we realize, oh, there is a power in this universe that's greater than I am, and I can use it. And we start manifesting the P's, the parking places, the palaces, the princes and princesses and the peoples, and all of these things. And sometimes, unfortunately, we get stuck in that manifestor stage, that law of attraction stage. But Michael takes us further. He takes us further to the next phase as spirit moving through us. Right? And that's when we have to start asking questions. What is my highest good? What is my highest passion? What is my highest purpose? And what is Spirit's highest purpose to express in and through and as me? That's when we start to let go of control. Because when you think about it, what could the best purpose for our lives be but the expression of the divine in and through and as us? Do we think we know better? Sometimes we look at our lives and we could probably say, no, we don't. So if we get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuit, what ends up happening is surrender to the greatest yet to be, that greatness that is within us, that unique individualized aspect of spirit that is within each and every one of us, that's just saying, I am with you always. And all that I have is yours. But you got to let me through, and you got to let me in. So I found this quote, and I do apologize to you. It's been a very full week. And so I did not get my quotes to Vance like I should have. I just got one to him. My executive director is probably in Spain now, but he took a cruise all the way from, I guess, Florida to Spain, across the Atlantic Ocean. And so I kind of got left in charge, which is fun. But, you know, it's a big responsibility, but it's a lot of fun. But I want to read this quote to you by Sri Aurobindo. And he said that the purpose of creation is that it exists for the delight of God. The purpose of creation is that it exists for the delight of God. We can equate the word delight with joy. And joy is what we experience when we are passionate about something, is it not? It is interesting and fun to think of this divine intelligence as being delighted in joy with its creation. And that's all of you. Well, why not? That brings me joy just thinking about it. So when we When we bring this back to a personal perspective, we understand that we all are indeed individualizations of spirit. We are infused with the divine urge to express, to create, serve, write, sing, dance, don't ask me to sing, or whatever it is that's in you that wills out, that desire to voice spirit in you, that greatness that is within you, and it wants to come out. You are its outlet. We are all its outlet. We can look at so many historical figures that express the desires of their heart, whether it be on the stage of life. There were singers, actors, writers, nurses, doctors, practitioners, ministers, community activists, environmental activists. They got their bloated nothingness out of the way, and they allowed their passion to flow through them. And they said yes. They stepped up to the plate. And they had fears. They had concerns, but they did it anyway. They tapped into their source of their desire, and they pressed on anyway. This means that legitimate desire is the voice of spirit in you, trying to indicate that the thing you desire is already on its way to you. Before they call, I will answer. With all your heart, you must want to be different from what you are. Intense burning desire combined with intention to make good is the mainspring of all action, the beginning of all successful ventures. In every great passion, desire is concentrated and intentioned. You must first desire and then intend to succeed. So we should give ourselves in love and in service to one another, and in the spirit of generosity and good fellowship. You see, to refuse to give is to refuse to receive, for everything moves in circles. Real giving is the givingness of the self. Sacred service is the ongoing spiritual practice of sharing your gifts and talents by actively participating from our heart to our greater community. So once we know that greatness within, we don't hoard it, we give it back, we give it out, we share it through our love, our wisdom, our guidance, through our givingness. Just like Spirit gives its givingness to all. It never has conditions. I guess one condition is, let me out. I'm within, just let me out. All right, I'm going to wrap this up. I'm going to leave you with this. Remember, a divine attribute is life. What does life do? It grows. See yourself as open, growing, curious to learn about the new. Choose to live a passionate, meaningful, full, and abundant life. Choose to connect to your greatness within. And remember always who you are and who Spirit is within you. And so it is. Thank you, CSL Midtown.
Thank you, Reverend Jean. What an awesome talk this morning. Circulation, greatness within us that we can bring out into the world.
Good to see you.
So, if you would now, it's time for our prosperity, our offering. We're going to say that. In the back of the room, there are envelopes with, if you're in the room, you can do that. You can do it online. We'll have a QR code up here in a minute. And so all kinds of opportunities to give in one-time giving or ongoing donations. I know we've got that set up. So if you would say with me our affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance.
As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is.
Judy said something before I bring her back up. We've got, I'm going to set the Zoom up and turn this camera around so we're talking in the room. So everybody in the room can participate. We're going to try it again. If the technology works, we'll support it and have a dialogue between everybody online out there and everybody here in the room. Just a Q&A, we'll try it, and I give you back to Judy.
I'm hoping that will work. We'll see what happens. All right. Well, I hope that if you're here in the room that you'll stay and join us for potluck. Doesn't matter if you didn't bring anything you didn't know. We have plenty of food for all. So please stay. It's a great time for community and getting to know each other. A few announcements. We have every Sunday at 10 a.m. before this service online at the Zoom link at cslmidtown.org. We have our online study group, and we're currently studying the Science of Mind textbook. We're reading it and discussing it. It might take us years to finish that, but that's okay. It's a really delightful group and really meaty discussion. So I invite you to join that. I hope that you'll really consider supporting us financially if you're either here in the room or online. You may already be doing that, and we're on good, solid financial grounds here, but we want to grow. So if you have the ability to give a little bit more, and if this is a place that you get your spiritual nourishment, Spirit calls us to give back to those places in our lives. So do that. And I just want to say that next Sunday we'll be back online. So cslmidtown.org. Our speaker is Reverend Pollard, and her talk is What About Faith? So we continue on with our wonderful May theme. So thank you again for joining us, and let's all I guess the closing affirmation will be coming up on the screen here in a minute. So, okay, there it is. Affirmation of life. Read this with me, please. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me, and so it is. Thank you all for coming, and stay for the potluck.